Good morning. Thanks for coming today, this cold morning. So today the small group ministry leaders and I are co-leading this service. And instead of a reflection, we will be demonstrating the small group process.
I'm Ann Webster. I'm currently part of the Tuesday evening small group. And I joined my first small group ministry back in the late 1990s in the old building we occupied on Cross Street. At the first gathering I attended, we developed a covenant regarding our expectations of each other during our time together and to create a safe space by agreeing to keep confidential anything shared with the group. There was a format of lighting a chalice, having a short check-in to see what was currently on the minds and hearts of participants, and then shared readings and quotes to stimulate thoughts about the topic. After our conversation, we would end by expressing what went well for us during the session and what may not have gone so well.
So typically, as you probably have gathered, the small group ministry experience happens once a month with the same group of people, although that group can change over time. And it meets for an hour and a half at least. And the sharing time, both the check-in and the question for the check-in is, how is your spirit? Which is a little different than how are you? Right? And people, depending on the size of the group, can respond to that question for quite some time. So people get to know each other very deeply in just the check-in. And then there's a reading, and the reading quotes questions that the small group ministry is the theme of the month. So this month it's about resistance, and it changes every month. Today we're going to have a very short version of small group ministry. So first thing is to light the chalice. Do one of you want to light the chalice? Thank you, Alan. When we consciously breathe and put our hand on our heart, we actually drop out of the mind noise. And then asking our heart, how is my spirit right now, today? How is your spirit? And when you're ready, you can release your hand and open your eyes. And we're going to just say a sentence here right now. Yes.
My spirit is tender, navigating uncertainty.
My spirit is grateful for many things.
My spirit is anxious.
My spirit is tap dancing.
My spirit is curious, ready to listen to what you have to say.
My spirit is joyful to be alive. So our reading for reflection this morning is called The Clearing by Martha Postlethwaite. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. So I'm going to read 2 questions, and I invite everyone here in the sanctuary and on Zoom to reflect on them. And they will also be on a slide on the screen, hopefully. How is the song of your life calling you to help save your corner of the world? How is the song of your life helping save your corner of the world? What role does community play in your work of resistance? What role does community play in your work of resistance?
I wanted to say that I love that phrase, the song of your life. And when I was in elementary school, I did well, but I always talked too much. It said that on my report card. But I would say the song of my life is connecting in many ways, and that is what nourishes me in my little corner. And I feel that it's just so important to be able to share and connect with others. Take a breath with me, please.
I spent almost 35 years commuting to a job that it took my whole day, and at home I went to sleep and then I got up and did the job again the next day. So I didn't have much of a community in Middlebury except for this church. This church was my community. And then I retired and decided that I needed to get to know Middlebury, the village, the people who live next door, the people who live in the woods, the people who live under the bridge. And so I got to be better acquainted with Bread Loaf Mountains and community and took some courses. Now I spend time at Gather in a few ways, and I feel like my my goal is to build some bridges, not bridges necessarily, but relationships with people that I wouldn't know otherwise, and hear their stories. I've been able to do that, and I have been making a point of getting to know the people in my neighborhood. And knock on a door and say, come to a neighborhood party. We're having a party. You want to come? It's been pretty interesting. We've done that 3 times now, and I actually know who lives in that red house down the street. So it's small. It feels small to me, but it is my life, and it feels good. Will you take a breath with me?
I also chose to answer the first question, although like Sue, I think they're both related in many ways. And I chose to interpret Song of Your Life as a way to describe my trajectory in my life from the beginning to the end, well, to where we are now. Which isn't too far from the end, but anyway. I grew up in a fairly traditional conservative family in Massachusetts where issues of inequity and injustice were not talked about nor confronted nor thought about much as far as I know. And as a kid, I didn't really experience those situations because I lived in a solid middle-class community where those issues just weren't there, weren't talked about, or at least if they were there, they were hidden. It wasn't until I joined the Peace Corps after college that I was confronted firsthand with all sorts of issues of inequity and injustice. And as a Peace Corps volunteer, I was placed in charge of a national park in Costa Rica. And I could talk about that forever, but one experience I had, which I think is sort of a metaphor for confronting injustice, is I was in charge, and I had 7 park rangers, Costa Ricans, that I worked with, and we were in charge of managing and doing everything in this national park, basically. And one thing we did, we had a brand new visitor center, which was going to be inaugurated in a couple of weeks, and there was this very ugly barbed wire fence, which was very adjacent, which was separating the visitor center from a private property, a pasture land. And it was going to be inaugurated, and we didn't want that fence to be there. And the property that was on the other side of the fence was in the process of being purchased by the government, but it had been over 2 years in this process. And as you know, bureaucracy in any government takes time. And it's very frustrating sometimes, which is why Donald Trump is president, actually. So we decided, I was 23, and these other guys I was working with were about my age. We were kind of impetuous. We were in an impetuous age, and one day we decided this fence has got to go, and it wasn't really serving any purpose at that point anyway. It just was there. So we tore the fence down. And of course, a few days later, we got the notice from on high that this fence had to go back. So we put it back. But 2 weeks later, that property was purchased, and the fence came down again. And I'd like to think that our little act of resistance facilitated that process somehow, and we got what we wanted. And the national park is a better place for it. 50 years later, here I am with Carol, and here we are in this congregation. And I would like to think that our ripe old age, that we are still confronting issues of injustice and inequity together with all of you in this congregation. That's what our values are all about, and I hope that we can continue to do that. Please take a breath with me.
We typically end our sharing or our group time together. I think one of you mentioned this. I don't remember. Oh, I think it was Anne. You mentioned this with likes, wishes, gratitudes, just so we can share appreciations and anything thing that maybe came up that didn't work for us. And that's helpful for the group to know what's going on.
I like listening to everybody's perspectives from the same questions. We got, how many? 6 different answers. So it's kind of cool to see how we're all different, moving in the same direction. And my hope, wish is that with this brief introduction to what a small group ministry is, that it has inspired some of you to want to take part in your own.
I guess I'm most grateful for the opportunity to listen to all of you, as Sue said, and to learn, to sort of grow my heart.
I have a wish, and my wish is that this experience has inspired a few of you to become small group ministry leaders. Please remain standing to sing our closing hymn, number 121, We'll Build a Land.